Hey YouTube, Tiffany here. So I know a lot of you guys are interested in travel, or maybe one of your goals for 2017 is to travel a little more. Maybe, to take it a step further, you'd even like to travel solo. If you'd like some tips on budgeting travel, booking solo travel, and some tips while you're out there, make sure you stay tuned. There is a tremendous solo travel community out there. I'm in a number of travel Facebook groups: Black Girl Fly, Nomadness Travel Tribe, Girls Love Travel, Solo Women Travelers, bunch of travel groups, and they all have amazing women who are jumping out there and they're traveling both nationally and internationally, and they are just going for it. So I decided to do the same. I was in Amsterdam for a few days at the end of November celebrating my birthday. I've been able to travel solo a tiny bit locally and exploring my own city solo. I was able to practice a little bit with going to Philadelphia, which is right next to New York where I live, and then I decided to finally jump and book a trip solo at the end of November. So I'm here to share some of the things I learned with you guys. Tip number one is research. You have to know your budget. You have to figure out where you want to go. You have to figure out if you want to be local, national, or international. And then on top of that, you have to figure out what you want to do or experience when you're there and what your budget for your activities will be, as well as budget for your food. You have to budget for your accommodations. Do you want to stay in a hostel? Do you want to stay in an Airbnb? Do you want to stay in a hotel? You have to be able to plan those things out, and you have to research to see how much those cost, because you don't want to get a cheap flight and then end up paying way more money for your accommodations. Make sure you research to see if you need any visas or any additional information. Make sure you research and look into travel insurance to see if that's something that you need. A lot of people recommend it. I would recommend it. Research to see if the place has an off-peak season, because traveling during off-peak season is actually not too bad. I just came back from Amsterdam, and in Amsterdam it was off-peak because it was around the end of November, early December, and it was beautiful. There were Christmas decorations everywhere. I had an amazing experience because I went during a time of year that wasn't as crowded. Those are definitely things to keep in consideration. Research is the most important part of booking your trip. You want to make sure that you research to make sure that solo women travelers are safe. You want to research and see stories from other solo women travelers and figure out what they did, figure out how they liked it. You'd want to research and figure out if other solo women travelers felt comfortable in a country. There are all sorts of small tips that you can learn through research on how to be more safe and more comfortable with traveling solo. I would definitely say research is the number one tip for solo travel. Tip number two is to never wait around for anyone. Don't wait around for anyone to book a flight. Don't wait around for anyone to save up their money. Don't wait around for someone that says, I want to come, but don't be afraid to book it yourself. Don't wait around for anyone, because the more waiting that you do, you're actually missing out on opportunities and amazing experiences because you're waiting around for people. Timing doesn't work out, and if timing doesn't work out, don't hold yourself back. Just go and do it. So my third trip is to register with the STEP program. It stands for Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. Let the US Embassy know that you're visiting a country, just in case anything is going on in that country. If there's a disaster or some type of emergency, they know that you're there, they know where you are. They give you contact information for embassies out there, and it's a higher chance of them being able to get to you and help you if something happens. Now, I registered for STEP when I was going to Amsterdam, and there was actually a possible terrorist threat in Rotterdam. So I got this long detailed email stating that there was a threat, what to do in the event of a threat, and listed the telephone numbers and the addresses of the nearby embassies close to where I was staying. So I was like, oh, that's really helpful and really good to know. So tip number four is to make an itinerary. I typed up an itinerary with details for everything on my trip. Not only my flight information, my connecting flight, my hostel, my Airbnbs. I even put places that I wanted to visit. I put the tickets that I had for museums, a loose schedule of things that I wanted to do on what day, just so my family kind of had a timeline of things that I were doing, and if something happened along the way, they would at least have an idea of where I was. I had a copy of my passport on there for my family, as well as the contact information for my Airbnb hosts, the full address to my Airbnb, and all of the other important information that I needed. It actually helped me going through customs in London, because I was able to just pull out that sheet of paper and write down the address for my Airbnb on the customs form. So the itinerary definitely helps. Have copies, give them to your loved ones. So tip number 5, as I mentioned before with the itinerary thing, I would say have a goal for your day. Plan one big activity each day that kind of fills in the idle time. Some days I even planned 2. One for the morning or early afternoon and one for the evening. For instance, in Amsterdam, when I first got there, I scheduled a 3-hour walking tour. I wanted to get to know the city. The walking tour was free, and I thought that was a great, huge chunk of time to take up. The following morning was my museum morning. I bought tickets to the museum that were scheduled already, so I had those scheduled, and I had a chunk of time in between for whatever, and then I scheduled a tour at the nighttime. So I was constantly kind of like exploring, but still had some bigger things to do, because it's nothing worse than being lonely and idle in a foreign city that you're not familiar with. So have one big goal or plan for the day. So the next tip is safety. Make sure you research the safety precautions needed while going to the country of your choosing. I was sure to research Amsterdam and see, try to get as much information as I could about, say, pickpocketing or theft or any other crimes, and like try and minimize the situations. So what I did was I actually, number one, I bought a money belt. And a money belt goes underneath your clothing, and you can keep whatever important documents or money or things of that nature in there. What people also do, instead of purchasing a money belt, they sew additional pockets into their clothing. So if you're traveling in the summer but you really need to have something on you, that would also be a good idea to add on an additional pocket. Also with safety, I've even heard of people having like a decoy wallet or having a bag that is lockable, which is what I did, or having a bag whose straps cannot be slashed, like a slash proof bag. So those are all things that you can look into and see if those are needed for the country that you're going to. For solo women travelers, I've even heard of little alarms that you can put on the door, and it's basically a travel alarm. So you put it in the door, and in case it opens or whatever, it makes a loud noise or ringing noise or whatever to wake you up. So in case you want some extra protection in a hotel room, that may be a good idea as well. Next tip, and this ties in with safety, be aware of your surroundings at all times. Never take out a map in public, whether you're using a map app or you're using a paper map. Don't stand in the middle of the street and look lost and pull your phone out or pull your map out. Duck into a coffee shop, duck into a shop, duck into a drugstore, sit down on a bench, pull out a book, or sit down and act like you're relaxing, waiting at a bus stop. Whatever you have to do, you don't want to bring attention to yourself, and you don't want to look lost. But also say, in terms of like staying alert and just being safe in general, don't accept any drinks from anyone. Don't venture off with someone that you don't know. Be super careful with your drinks and even your food. Be very, very careful, because while you're going on vacation, while you're out to enjoy yourself, you want to make it back home safe. Next tip, be prepared. Make sure you head to Google Maps on your phone and download the offline map area on your phone. You can Google it, but if you download the offline map, you don't have to be online to access the map of the city that you're in. It actually really helped me in Amsterdam after I got pickpocketed and my replacement phone was really, really wonky. The data was really expensive to keep on filling. So what I did was I downloaded the map of London and I downloaded the entire map of Amsterdam, and I was able to maneuver myself around pretty well that way. So make sure you download the map on Google Maps. Next tip, don't be afraid to meet people. There are several ways that you can meet people. You can do what I did, which was schedule some tours. Scheduling tours is a great way to meet people that are also tourists just like you are. There's a couple of websites that you can try. Meetup.com is a great one. There's also couch surfing. If you are not into couch surfing, they also have couch surfing events. And I actually went to a couch surfing event when I was in Amsterdam, so that's great. Don't be afraid to just look people directly in the eye and smile and introduce yourself and say hi. I know it's really scary, especially if you're a little bit reserved or like a little introverted like I am, but you will never see these people again. You never know the great friendships you may meet. Sometimes it's just as easy as a kind gesture. Like, I made friends simply offering to take a picture for them in exchange for a photo for myself, or sitting next to someone on a tour, or walking with someone on a group tour, or even like meeting locals. I hung out with one of the girls that worked in a shop that I went to that was really, really cool, and we stay in touch until now. Like, it's scary and it's hard to meet people, but just get out there and do it. If you smile, if you ask someone how their day was, if you ask them where they're from, if you ask them if they're visiting or whatever, just spark up a small conversation. You never know where that can lead. And my final tip is, do not be afraid. Just go out there and do it. If you're afraid of the alone time, if you're afraid that it will be awkward, if you've never spent long periods of time by yourself, start practicing now before you even book a trip or take that leap or whatever. Do small things each day to kind of ground yourself and get yourself used to relying on yourself, spending time with yourself, and loving yourself. So the way that I did that was I started going to movies by myself. We'll go to a machine, or I'll buy it online on my phone and walk right up, see my movie, walk right out. You don't even notice that there's no one there because you're enjoying a movie. Or when I was working in Philadelphia, I spent nights by myself. I was out there 4 days a week for like 2 months, and every single night almost I was by myself at dinner. So what I would do was take a book and sit down and have dinner. At first it was really awkward, and I would sit in my hotel room and just get takeout, but then after a while I was like, why not? Just go to a restaurant, get a book until you're less awkward, talk to your hostess or whatever, and get yourself used to being by yourself. Like, then after you start to get a little more comfortable, take a day trip, take a short day trip, take a short drive, and see where you end up, and kind of get to know how it is being by yourself and with yourself that way. So throughout all my rambling, I hope I was able to inspire you guys at least a little bit to begin to spend time for yourself, by yourself, and with yourself, and enjoy it. Then slowly work up your courage to book a solo trip. It's really not that scary, and it's really not that hard. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or want to know anything or need any more tips, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you like this video, thumbs it up, and if you want more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you head to my channel and check out my other travel videos. I have some footage from my trip from Amsterdam, as well as my trip from London, and even a story time video with how I got pickpocketed. So head over and check that out now. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.